You didn't lose a person. You lost the rhythm of your mornings, the anchor of your nights, the reason you looked at your phone and smiled without thinking. You lost the voice that made the world feel quieter, the touch that made everything else make sense. Now, the silence screams. The bed is too big. The air is too still. You keep replaying the last message, the last glance, the last moment, hoping you missed something, some sign they might come back. But they won't. And that's when it hits you. You weren't just in love. You built your entire existence around someone who no longer exists in your life. This is where real collapse begins. Not when they leave, but when you realize they're never coming back. And if you don't do something about it, neither will you. Stoic philosophy was made for this kind of grief. Not to numb it, but to reshape you through it. It teaches that love is a gift, never a guarantee. And that being abandoned is not death, it's the birthplace of your next self. The stronger self. The colder, clearer, unshakable self who rises from ruin without begging to be loved again. If this message is slicing through something in you, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs it more than they'll admit. And drop a comment below. 1, if this feels like truth. 0, if it doesn't land yet. Your voice drives this channel forward. At Victory Stoic, we're starting a new chapter, blending ancient Stoic wisdom with modern psychology and the fierce clarity of thinkers like Jordan Peterson. If you're ready to rebuild from the wreckage, you're exactly where you need to be. Let's begin. Number 1, you never owned them. You just mistook love for possession. The pain isn't just that they're gone, it's the betrayal of a belief, that they were yours, that love meant ownership, that we was permanent, that what you built together had a lock on it. But nothing in this world is truly yours. Not people, not moments, not even your own emotions. The pain that guts you after a breakup isn't their absence, it's the disintegration of the illusion that they belong to you. You didn't lose them. You lost the grip you imagined you had on something that was never yours to hold. This is where Stoicism begins, by stripping you of the lie that fuels your suffering. Epictetus said, "Never say of anything, 'I have lost it, but I have returned it.'" That includes people. They come, they leave. You don't lose them, you return them to the world they came from. They were never yours. You were allowed to hold them for a time. That's all. Ownership is a seductive myth, and when it breaks, it doesn't just hurt, it shatters you. Because your identity was built around that possession. When they walked away, they didn't just take their love. They took the version of yourself that only existed in their arms. And now you're left standing there, not just heartbroken, but identityless. Take Lena, a 41-year-old nurse in Michigan. She spent 7 years with a man she loved to the bone. Vacations, holidays, house projects, shared playlists, private jokes. She imagined growing old together. And then one day he said the words that hollowed her out. "I just don't feel it anymore." No infidelity. No massive betrayal. Just a slow drift into disconnection. But what crushed Lena wasn't just the breakup, it was the feeling that he owed her forever. That after all they shared, he had no right to leave. That belief kept her stuck, bitter, unable to move on. Not because of what he did, but because of what she believed she was entitled to. And that belief was a lie. Love is not a contract. Love is a gift. It cannot be demanded, held, or enforced. The moment you believe someone should stay, must love you, or belongs to you, you're already headed for destruction. You've turned something organic into something possessive. And as soon as the person resists that grasp, you feel betrayed. But they didn't betray you. They just reminded you, you don't own hearts. You don't own people. You never did. From a psychological standpoint, this belief in emotional ownership is tied to attachment theory. Anxiously attached individuals often perceive closeness as guarantee. They interpret affection as obligation. When love ends, it's not just grief, it's rage, shame, confusion. Because the story they told themselves, "we were meant to be," has been shattered. The Stoic path interrupts that narrative and replaces it with this: nothing is promised. Gratitude is owed for what was, not resentment for what no longer is. Jordan Peterson echoes this in his challenge to modern entitlement. If your life is not what it could be, stop blaming the world, stop blaming other people, and start asking what you could do to make it better. This doesn't mean blaming yourself for someone leaving. It means accepting the truth. You can't control their feelings, but you can control how tightly you cling to a fiction. You can choose to face reality or collapse inside your fantasy. Here's the brutal Stoic mindset. People are on loan. Your partner, your friends, your parents, even your children, they are all temporary residents in the house of your life. They may be with you for a season, a decade, or a lifetime, but none of them are guaranteed. Your job is not to lock them inside. Your job is to cherish them fully while they're present and to release them with dignity when they leave. Imagine holding sand in your hand. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, openly, it rests there longer. That's how people are. Grasp them too tightly, and they flee. Let them be free, and they stay as long as they choose. And when they leave, you bleed, but you do not crumble. Because you never built your worth around something you couldn't control. Want to begin detaching from this illusion? Try this. Write down everything you think they owed you. Time, loyalty, apologies, forever. Then burn that paper. Physically destroy the contract you never had the right to write. It's a symbolic purge, but a powerful one. Do it alone. No music, no distractions. Just you, the paper, and fire. Let the ash be your proof. You're no longer bargaining with ghosts. Second, change your language. Stop saying they were mine. Say they were with me. Words create reality. Shift the words and your mind will follow. It feels small. It's not. It's the difference between prison and release. The pain won't vanish. You're not supposed to be numb. But what Stoicism teaches is that pain without delusion is pain that heals. You grieve the loss of connection, but you don't rot in resentment. You cry, but you don't chase. You remember, but you don't rewind. There's a quote from Seneca that hits hardest here. He who is brave is free. Brave enough to love, knowing you might lose. Brave enough to let go without needing to be chosen again. Brave enough to walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally understood. They were never yours to begin with. If you're ready to reclaim your freedom, without begging, without bitterness, start by dropping the chains you forged yourself. Let go of ownership. Let go of the story where they come back. Let go of the idea that your heart only works if they hold it. You don't need them to return. You just need to return to yourself. Number 2, memory is not truth. It's the beautiful lie you tell yourself so you don't have to let go. The moment they walked away, your mind started rewriting everything. You don't even realize it. But every memory since has been polished, softened, twisted, just enough to hide the real truth beneath it. Now when you close your eyes, you don't see the arguments. You don't hear the silence between texts. You don't feel the cold distance that came before the goodbye. You see sunsets, laughter, a version of them that never truly existed. You're not remembering them. You're remembering who you wished they were. And that lie is what's killing you now. This is the most vicious part of heartbreak. Not the absence, but the addiction to a fictional past. You cling to it because it hurts less than facing what actually happened. But in doing so, you trap yourself in a loop. You're not grieving a person, you're grieving a fantasy you built just to survive. That's not love, that's self-deception dressed as romance. Seneca warned us thousands of years ago, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The Stoics knew the mind is not just a recorder, it's a dramatist, a manipulator, especially when emotions are involved. When someone you loved leaves, your brain doesn't show you truth, it shows you comfort. It edits the scenes, cuts out the boredom, the red flags, the sharp edges. It gives you the highlight reel. But the full story, that's buried. And unless you force yourself to look at it, you'll spend years longing for something that never existed. Jason, 38, from North Carolina, spent 3 years recovering from a woman who cheated on him twice. She was unpredictable, volatile, dismissive in public, but beautiful, magnetic. The first woman he ever imagined marrying. After she left, he went dark, shut down emotionally, dated women just to forget her, but kept comparing each one to the same version of her in his head, the gentle her, the wild but soft her. He spoke about her like she was a mythical being, until one day in therapy, his counselor asked, "Can you list the top 5 ways she made you feel small?" He froze, couldn't answer. Not because it didn't happen, but because he had erased it. He had rebuilt her as a goddess to avoid admitting she had destroyed him, and that's what you might be doing now, clinging to an image you've sanitized. Maybe they made you feel alive, but also anxious. Maybe they kissed you like fire, but also ignored your needs. Maybe they loved you in their way, but only when it was easy for them. These aren't contradictions, these are truths. And the more you bury them, the longer you stay chained to someone who wasn't good for your soul. Jordan Peterson addresses this in his work on narrative and personal honesty. He says, "You have to articulate your own experience. Otherwise, you're left with nothing but lies, someone else's or your own." What he means is this: if you don't take the scalpel to your past and cut it open truthfully, you'll keep building your present on a rotting foundation. The memory of them is not sacred, it's data. And if the data is false, your future is warped. The brain has a name for this: rosy retrospection, a cognitive bias where we remember past experiences as being more positive than they actually were. It's not sentimentality, it's survival. But in heartbreak, it becomes a prison. You end up comparing real people, real relationships, real opportunities to a ghost that never did you wrong. And that ghost will ruin your life if you let it. You want to know why you're still stuck? Because every time you start to heal, your brain hands you a glowing, perfect memory like a drug. It says, remember the way they looked at you? Remember the road trip? Remember that one night? It never reminds you how they dismissed your boundaries, how they made you feel small when you were vulnerable, how they never truly saw you, just the version of you that served their needs. But you don't want to remember that, because that would mean facing the truth. They were never what you needed. They were just what you wanted to believe in. Here's what you do. Exercise 1. Write a memory from both perspectives. Choose a memory you've idealized, maybe a date, a conversation, a weekend. First, write it as your brain wants to remember it. Then write it again, factually. What was actually said? How did you actually feel? Did they ignore you? Were you walking on eggshells? Did you have to hide your needs to keep the peace? This will feel like betrayal. Good. You've been betraying yourself long enough. It's time to fight back. Exercise 2. Name their flaws. Not in anger, in clarity. List them without venom. Were they inconsistent, dismissive, self-absorbed, emotionally unavailable? Make the list, and then ask yourself, would I let a friend I love date this person? If the answer is no, then why are you still worshiping them? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone does wrong, it's because they believe it is right. Do not hate them, but do not let them deceive you again." You can forgive someone and still see them clearly. You can honor the love you had and still accept that they weren't who your heart needed. What you loved may have been real, but it was never yours. And what you remember? It's not sacred, it's a lens, and you have the power to clean it. You don't owe your pain to your past. You owe it to your future to see your past for what it actually was. Drop the fiction. Burn the fairy tale. Stop romanticizing the hand that dropped you. Still with us? Comment 2. This one's not for the faint-hearted. It's for the ones ready to stop kissing memory and start building reality. The ones who know the only thing harder than letting go of the lie is living trapped inside it. Number 3. You don't need them. You're addicted to them. You say it's love. You say it's connection, destiny, soulmate. But if we strip away the poetry, the songs, the aching metaphors, what's underneath is something rawer, darker, more dangerous. What you're calling love is dependency. What you're calling heartbreak is withdrawal. What you think you need is what your brain has become chemically attached to. You're not dying from heartbreak. You're detoxing from a person. And if you don't face that truth, it will rot you from the inside out. Let's call this what it is: addiction. Not in the metaphorical sense, but in the neuroscientific sense. Because when you fall in love, your brain floods with dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin, the same cocktail that gets triggered by heroin, cocaine, or alcohol. That's why when they leave, your body crashes. That's why your hands shake when you think of texting them. That's why you reread old messages like you're chasing a hit. This isn't romantic, it's chemical enslavement. The worst part? You think it's your soul crying, but it's just your neurons panicking from the absence of their favorite stimulant. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist, has studied love addiction for decades. Her MRI research on people recently dumped reveals intense activity in the ventral tegmental area, the brain's reward system, the same area activated in cocaine users. You crave the person. Not because they're good for you, but because they're familiar. Because they once gave you highs your brain now expects. And when that source is cut off, you spiral. You don't miss them. You miss the biochemical surge they used to trigger. The Stoics saw this before neuroscience ever did. Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." But when you're addicted to a person, you give them full control. Not just of your time or emotions, but of your very biochemistry. You become reactive. You're not choosing anymore, you're chasing. Let's talk about Daniel, 42, from Nevada. His wife left him after 12 years. No cheating, just emotional distance and eventual disconnection. She said she was tired of being more of a caretaker than a partner. After she moved out, Daniel fell apart, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, quit his job. His friend said, "You need her." But he didn't. What he needed was the sense of identity and stability he'd outsourced to her. What he was truly addicted to was the routine, the comfort, the illusion of permanence. The dopamine cycles. He thought she was oxygen, but she was just the lighter he kept flicking to avoid his own darkness. Jordan Peterson says, "You cannot have the resurrection without the crucifixion." What he means is, the version of you that survives this cannot be the same version that needed them to function. That version has to die, and the death will hurt. But if you don't let it burn, you stay stuck in a loop, relapsing on hope, recycling memories, rewiring your brain for dependency instead of self-mastery. You need to understand something very clearly. Your brain can heal. Addiction is not permanent. Neural pathways can be rewired, but only if you stop feeding them. Every time you check their profile, reread their texts, fantasize about what if, you're reinforcing the circuitry. You're digging the dependency deeper. The brain has what's called neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire itself based on repetition and focus. This is both your curse and your salvation. If you keep thinking about them, you train your brain to crave them. But if you discipline your focus, you train it to detach. Stoicism calls this the discipline of assent, choosing which thoughts are allowed into your mind and rejecting the rest like a guard at the gate. Here's a brutal tip: go zero contact for 30 days. Not just no texting, no checking, no replays, no imaginary conversations. Every time they pop into your mind, you interrupt. Replace the image with something active, a workout, a task, a mantra. Say aloud, "This thought is poison." You won't feel better right away. In fact, you'll feel worse. That's the withdrawal. That's your nervous system screaming. Let it scream. The more it screams, the closer you are to breaking free. Another method: write a relapse plan. Just like with drug addiction, you need to know your triggers. What places, songs, times of day, smells, or friends bring them back into your bloodstream. Write them down, and beside each one, list an action. When I feel like calling them, I run 5 blocks. When I hear our song, I change the station and do 10 push-ups. This is not dramatics. This is neurological warfare. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your cravings are not your commands. They are echoes. And the man who follows echoes is always lost. Don't romanticize your suffering. It's not poetic, it's biochemical bondage, and the only cure is action, not nostalgia. You don't need them. You never did. What you need is to reclaim your body, your thoughts, your spine. You need to stop calling this love and start calling it what it is: a pattern of self-betrayal disguised as devotion. Still breathing? Good. Now breathe sharper. You're not dying from heartbreak. You're detoxing from an illusion. And every second you survive this silence, you are healing into someone they never deserved to meet in the first place. Number 4. Pain is purification. What hurts now is what clears the way. It wasn't supposed to end like this. Not with silence, not with distance, not with the feeling that your body is still here. But your soul was left somewhere between their last words and the first time they stopped looking at you the same. You wake up in pieces. You go to sleep in a war zone. You carry on during the day like nothing's wrong. But every room you walk into reminds you of what you lost. Every breath you take without them feels like betrayal, either of the love you gave or the version of yourself that still clings to the past like it owes you something. But it doesn't. There is no redemption waiting for you in the rearview mirror, no secret chapter that brings them back, not the same, not better. Because this heartbreak, this devastation, this soul-level collapse is not a mistake. It is the storm sent to purify you. Pain isn't the enemy. It's the knife that cuts out what's infected. It's the fire that clears the deadwood. It's the God you meet when you've lost everything else, and the only thing left to burn is you. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men." You want to come out of this alive? Then stop praying for the pain to leave. Learn how to walk into it with your eyes open. Because the faster you face it, the faster it burns clean, and the faster you become something new. You've been told to move on. That's bullshit. You don't move on from something that shattered you. You rebuild from it. You crawl through it. You let it carve into your bones and rearrange your soul. Because there's no shortcut through loss. There's only depth. And those who go deep enough come out unrecognizable. Take Anna, 36, from Pennsylvania. Her fiancé left her 3 months before the wedding. No warning, just a conversation over dinner that ended her life as she knew it. She collapsed for weeks, couldn't eat, couldn't look at her wedding dress. Her family said, just focus on the positives. Her friends said, you'll find someone better. But the truth is, Anna didn't need someone better. She needed to die, not physically, but emotionally. The version of her that thought love guaranteed loyalty. The version of her that confused comfort with safety. The version of her that was still waiting to be rescued. What saved Anna wasn't distraction, it was dissent. She journaled every night. She wrote the ugliest, darkest things she had ever thought. She stopped wearing makeup, stopped pretending she was okay. She didn't run from the grief. She welcomed it in. Like a monster she knew she had to tame, not avoid. And month by month she emerged, thinner, yes, quieter, yes, but clearer, fiercer. And when her ex reached out a year later, she didn't feel triumph. She felt nothing, not numbness. Completion. Jordan Peterson warns us, when you avoid pain, you become fragile. But if you voluntarily confront it, you become someone who can bear it. And someone who can bear pain is dangerous. Dangerous not to others, but to the lies that once ruled you, to the illusions you once begged to keep, to the weaker self you used to protect. That's what pain is doing to you right now, not destroying you, stripping you of fantasy, of softness, of dependence. You are in the fire, and the fire is not meant to comfort you, it's meant to remake you. Neuroscience backs this. Functional MRI studies show that emotional pain, especially heartbreak, activates the same brain regions as physical injury. The anterior cingulate cortex, the somatosensory cortex. Your brain thinks you've been hit. And in a way it's right, you have. But just like muscle tears in the gym, emotional tearing allows for rebuilding. Scar tissue isn't weakness, it's armor. So stop asking why this happened. Stop waiting for the pain to pass. Start asking what it's trying to carve out of you, what pattern it's exposing, what lie it's burning down. Because the longer you run, the more it chases. But when you stop and face it, stare it dead in the eye, you begin to take back your power. Here's what to do. Create a pain ritual. Every morning, carve out 10 minutes to sit with your grief. No distractions, just you, your breath, and the ache. Breathe into it. Name it. Let it move through your chest, your throat, your gut. Don't push it away, don't fix it. Just feel it. Then stand up. Leave it there. Do this every day. What you're doing is teaching your nervous system. Pain is safe. It will not destroy you. This is how you build resilience, not repression. Use the 3 why drill. Take any thought like, I miss them. Ask, why? Then again, why? And once more, why? By the 3rd level, you'll stop talking about them and start uncovering what part of you is bleeding. The goal is to find your root wound, because the truth is, they didn't create it. They triggered it. And now you have a rare chance to heal it, if you don't waste it. Marcus Aurelius said, just as nature takes every obstacle, every impediment, and works around it, so too can you turn every pain into power. But only if you stop looking at pain like a punishment. It's not. It's a tool, a forge, a calling. This person who left you, they were not the great love of your life. They were the great ending of the life you no longer need to live. The door they closed wasn't to your future, it was to your illusion. And now you're standing in the ruins, naked and howling. Good. That's how all great rebirths begin. Still reading? Still breathing? Comment 4, if this pain feels like your own, then don't flinch, don't run, don't beg for it to stop. Walk into it like a soldier and let it cut everything soft and small out of you. What's left, what survives, is the version of you that will never be broken this way again. Number 5. Don't replace them. Healing doesn't come from filling the void. You feel the emptiness like it's carved into your chest. Like someone reached into your ribcage and ripped out something vital. And now every moment without them feels unbearable, like walking through your own house with the lights off. It's tempting, in that darkness, to grab the nearest hand, to chase warmth, laughter, validation, anything that makes the cold stop for a moment. You tell yourself it's harmless, that you're moving on, that love cures love. But this isn't healing, this is hiding. And the person you run to now? They aren't your solution, they're your sedative. There's a brutal truth that few want to hear. Replacements don't heal wounds, they infect them. You don't miss them as much as you miss who you were when they loved you. So you seek someone new to mirror that version of you, to make you feel whole again. But love built from escape is a house built on sand. The foundation isn't trust, it's fear. And anything built on fear will rot the moment pressure touches it. Psychology calls this the rebound effect. After a painful breakup, the brain, desperate for relief, craves the familiar dopamine highs of attention, intimacy, and affection. Studies in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships show that rebound relationships often serve as distractions, not deep connections. They reduce short-term distress, but they prolong long-term healing. Why? Because the original wound is never addressed. It's buried, covered, postponed. That's not healing. That's emotional debt. The Stoics understood this centuries before psychology. Epictetus taught, it is not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them. The event is the loss. The judgment is your belief that it must be fixed by someone else. That the only way to stop the pain is to find a new person to hold you. But what if the pain is trying to teach you something? What if it's the sound of your old self breaking apart so your real self can be built? You can't outrun that process. Not in someone else's bed, not in someone else's eyes. Take Rachel, 39, from New York. After her divorce, she met someone 2 weeks later. Charming, funny, attentive. She called it fate. Said he made her feel seen again. But the truth was harsher. He made her feel distracted. 3 months in, the old patterns returned. Fear, insecurity, comparison. She wasn't loving, she was clinging. She hadn't built a new life. She had borrowed one. And when that ended too, the grief doubled. Because now she had 2 ghosts to carry, and still no ground beneath her. Contrast that with Eli, 42, a carpenter from Oregon. His partner left after 10 years. No third party, just emotional distance. Eli didn't date for 18 months. He rebuilt his house, relearned how to cook, went back to therapy, took care of his mother. The silence nearly killed him. But in that silence, he met a version of himself he never knew existed. And when he did meet someone again, it wasn't to fill a gap. It was because there was no gap left. He brought a whole man to the table, not a broken boy with a smile. Jordan Peterson writes, "Don't use people as solutions to problems that only discipline and responsibility can solve. Love isn't anesthesia. If you use it to numb the pain of loss, you don't grow. You stall, you stagnate, you float from person to person, hoping one of them will make you forget. But forgetting isn't healing. It's emotional amputation. Here's the truth you have to face. No one is coming to rescue you from your loneliness. Not the next one, not the one after that. If you don't learn how to sit with the ache, feel it, name it, own it, you'll bleed it into every new person you touch. So what do you do instead? Step 1, choose solitude on purpose. Not isolation, not punishment. Solitude. Wake up without checking your phone for attention. Spend a weekend with no romantic stimulation, no flirting, no dating apps, no soft fantasies of someone new. Starve the addiction to being desired, because every time you chase that high, you delay the return to yourself. Step 2, build your day around discipline, not distraction. The first hour of your morning should belong to you, not to someone else's texts, not to the memory of them. Train, read, write, create, take a cold shower, reclaim your life 1 minute at a time. You don't need a new lover. You need structure. Step 3, create a ritual of completion. Write them a letter. Everything you ever wanted to say, then burn it. Not out of anger, but as a funeral for the fantasy. Because that's what you've been keeping alive. Not just the person, but the illusion that someone else is the answer to your emptiness. They're not. You are. Marcus Aurelius said, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." But most people never make it that far inside. They stop at someone else's arms. They stop at pleasure. They stop at ease. Not you. If you're still reading this, something in you knows it's time to stop running. The next person you love deserves all of you, not just the parts that haven't healed yet. And if you rush it, if you grab the next hand before your own has learned how to stay still, you will carry your wounds into someone else's life and call it love. And it won't be. The truth is sharp, but it frees you. Replacing someone is easy. Rebuilding yourself is sacred. Let the silence do its work. Let the emptiness echo until it no longer scares you. When you're whole again, love won't be a need, it will be a choice. And that kind of love never ends in desperation. Number 6, you are not a victim unless you choose to be. No one is coming to save you. Not your friends, not your therapist, not your next partner, and certainly not the one who left you. Because this isn't a movie. This isn't a love story waiting for the final twist where they come running back, say it was all a mistake, and pull you out of the wreckage. This is real life. And in real life, heartbreak doesn't make you special, it just makes you human. The world won't stop spinning because you're suffering. Rent is still due. Deadlines still loom. Your body still needs sleep and food and movement. No one's handing out medals for how much you've cried this week. And that's a good thing. Because the moment you start believing you deserve something just because you're in pain, that's the moment you lose your power. Let's be brutally honest. The person who left, maybe they weren't evil, maybe you weren't toxic. Maybe there was no grand betrayal, no villain, no fatal flaw, just distance, misalignment, timing, or truths neither of you could change. Maybe they just didn't feel it anymore. Maybe you outgrew each other. Or maybe, worst of all, they still loved you but knew it would never work. That's not failure. That's adulthood. And it's time you stop acting like a victim of something that was never meant to last in the first place. Stoicism doesn't entertain self-pity. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." Pain is real, but so is dignity. And you don't get both. You don't get to post poetic quotes on Instagram about how broken you are, fish for sympathy in group chats, and wallow in every conversation, and still claim you're rising. You're not. You're wading in your own emotional quicksand, and the more you perform your suffering, the more it defines you. Because here's the truth. Self-pity is a performance. You act like you want healing, but you want an audience. You want people to tell you how strong you are for getting out of bed, how unfair it was, how they were the problem, how you're better off. And for a moment it feels good. You feel seen, validated, but it's a sugar high. And when it fades, you're right back where you started, powerless. Take Eric, 43, from Denver. After his girlfriend of 5 years left him, he turned his pain into a brand. Sad captions, melancholy playlists, passive-aggressive tweets. His friends supported him at first, but over time, they pulled back. Not because they didn't care, but because Eric stayed in the performance. He refused to own any of it. He painted himself as a saint, her as a storm. And when no one clapped anymore, he crashed harder. Because his healing was never real. It was curated. Now take Nina, 38, from Boston. Her partner walked out after telling her, "You didn't do anything wrong. I just don't feel like this works anymore." No drama, just detachment. It shattered her. But she didn't broadcast it. She didn't look for pity. She sat with the grief. Asked herself hard questions. Were we ever truly compatible? Did we ignore red flags because we wanted it to work? Did we confuse comfort with alignment? Within 3 months, she wasn't over him, but she was over the illusion. She didn't need to be the victim anymore. She needed to be the adult who understood that love, no matter how deep, does not guarantee fit. That's what most people refuse to face. You can love someone and still not belong with them, and that has nothing to do with fault. Sometimes you were two broken clocks trying to tick in sync. Sometimes the connection was real, but the paths diverged. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and no one's to blame. This is not a tragedy. It's a reality, a harsh one, but a clean one. Jordan Peterson writes, "You must determine where you are going in your life, because you cannot get there unless you move in that direction. That direction is forward. And forward means facing truth, not looping in the story where you're the helpless, heartbroken hero. There is no dignity in endless mourning. There is no growth in martyrdom. So what do? Step 1. Tell the truth to yourself. Stop saying, "They left me out of nowhere." Look deeper. There were signs, misunderstandings, incompatibilities, maybe even the quiet voice inside you that knew. Write them down. This isn't to blame you, it's to free you from the myth that you were blindsided. Step 2. Purge the performance. No more sad posts, no more cryptic stories, no more turning conversations into pity parties. You want support? Ask for it cleanly. You want connection? Build it through shared reality, not shared sorrow. Mourning is sacred, milking it is manipulation. Step 3. Reclaim your posture. Literally. Sit up, shoulders back, take care of your appearance. Not for others, but because identity follows action. The body leads the mind. You don't wait to feel powerful to look it. You look it to remember it. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." But what if there was no injury? Then the best revenge is to be unlike the version of you that thought this was the end of the story. It's not. It's a chapter. You're still the author. This is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Self-respect doesn't survive in pity. It grows in truth. And the truth is, they're gone. You're still here. The rest is up to you. Closing. This is where we pause, not because we've said enough, but because there's more to say than one video can carry. Part 1 ends here. We've gone deep, and if you've made it this far, you're not here to be entertained. You're here to rebuild. In Part 2, we'll go even further, into identity, anger, self-worth, relapse, and what it really means to become unshakable after loss. If this first part cut through the noise and gave you something real, comment 1 below. That single number might seem small, but to us, it's everything. It tells us this message landed. It tells us this work matters. Your comment helps keep this series alive. Your presence here means we're not alone in this fight for clarity. See you in Part 2. Stay sharp, stay grounded, stay dangerous.